right, you got all the things and the things and the things.
That is right, Dad and Son.
Because it has been a while.
It's been a minute.
We took a extra week.
Yeah, we went
due to a little visit at my house from
illness.
Illness. So I've been out of the flow of things for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So we're getting back into the flow of it. So we're going to try to do a little catching up here. I've compacted 2 weeks. Actually, we missed 2 shows. So I guess I've got 3 shows compacted into one. And it's not any longer than normal, really. So I cut a bunch of stuff.
We're hitting the tippity top of the mountain for 3 weeks.
Right. So that's the deal. So should be about the same length as normal. So we're going to jump in and ride the wave here, so to speak. So picking up where we did last time, and again, because it's been such a long time, bear with us. But the first thing I wanted to cover is that we had went over that there were some, because we were talking about the new Secret Lair with The Walking Dead, that there was some non-canon material that came out in regular sets. And Mayro had said plane shift. What he really meant was planar chaos.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Not plane shift.
That makes
so we're going to start off with that little correction. So if you were listening to us last time and we mentioned that, it did get clarified in there that he meant planar chaos.
Right. Okay.
Whether it was a slip of his tongue, whether it auto-corrected or what, those are pretty close. So anyway. So we're going to get back on that train just a little bit, and we're going to talk a little bit more about these secret lairs and finish that up. Because it was a big discussion, and if you're past it, fine. And if you don't care about it, fine also, but we're going to delve into it just a little bit more. Okay? So, Mark, I understand that you and others at WotC sometimes have to defend unpopular choices. I get it. But the gaslighting on display from Forsyth and Hagen yesterday, and that was the weekly MTG. Thursday Magic stream, and to a lesser extent your Some Answers post, was nothing short of astounding. Really, really disappointed in what I saw. Defending company decisions is one thing, but thumbing your nose to community backlash and essentially saying, no, you guys are all wrong, is something else entirely. This is not how you put out a fire. This is Mayro's classy as always response.
Yeah.
I in no way said that players shouldn't feel how they're feeling. I haven't demeaned a single person for holding an opinion. I'm getting questions about why we did things, and I'm trying my best to explain the reasoning behind it. I'm not saying you have to like or agree with the reasoning. I'm simply trying to answer people's questions in as frank and straightforward a manner as I can. That's what I do on this blog.
Yeah.
And nothing I read showed him demeaning anybody.
No,
he never does. He's always really clear with that.
Now, there may be some fair criticism pointed towards a couple of other people that were on that cast, because I understand, but Mayro in no way seemed to be... There was a lot of disregarding the community concern in that cast. So...
I've gotten a lot of feedback on the Walking Dead cards as a product, but I've gotten very little... I've gotten a lot of feedback, but he's gotten very little feedback on design. So he asked for feedback on design of the individual cards. He said, what do you guys think of the designs? If you're familiar with the Walking Dead characters, do you feel the designs capture the characters? I kindly ask that you keep this thread to the topic of the card designs. He does this again, let's say... What do you all think of the designs? Does it even matter what we think about them? Sorry to be so cynical about your question, but I don't see why I should give you my opinion about the cards if my opinion on everything else will be ignored. Look, I'm the head designer. I have control. This is Mayro talking, not me. Boy, I wish I was a head designer.
Right?
Maybe not in times like this. I have control over card designs. If you like a particular mechanic, for example, it might encourage us to put it on another card. I'm happy to get any and all feedback to pass along to others. And trust me, I will pass along all the feedback. But I don't understand why I'm getting grief to try and get feedback on the main thing I actually do. So that's legitimate. I've gotten a lot of feedback. Yeah, you guys say you hear our feedback, but then we don't get our concerns addressed. Can you see how that's a bigger problem than how true to character these cards are? Here's the issue. There's a lot of lead time in what we do. It's very easy for the audience to communicate their concerns quickly, but it's much harder for us to respond in product quickly. The thing you're seeing for the first time is usually something we stopped working on months ago, if not more. What this means is it takes time for us to act on feedback in a tangible way. In addition, there are more modes of communication than the internet. It's the most immediate and the loudest, but it's just one piece in a larger puzzle of feedback. We also need to allow time to collect that other feedback as well, so we can take the steps that best address the audience's concerns at large. I get that it's frustrating in a world where the audience can share their concerns so quickly, but it's the reality we have to work with. What I'm trying to do is convey that we're listening and are hearing what's being said, and that concerns are getting a lot of discussion back at the office. Excuse me. It's always an issue for us when some amount of our players are upset. We never take that lightly. That doesn't mean, though, that we can always react quickly. Right now, the one thing we can do is seek out all the feedback possible in all various issues of the product in question. That's why I'm asking questions. We share a long-term goal, making all of you happy with Magic. And a couple more here. So I read through some of the feedback, and there were a lot of positives, and there were some negatives. Some people thought that they hit really good on the characters. There were a lot of questions, why they chose those particular questions, which we're going to get to in just a moment. And then, again, because there were lots of responses, some people liked, other people didn't like. It's about what you'd expect, you know. So why were these specific characters chosen? Clint has been dead for years, and Rick hasn't been on the show for a while either. Negan and Michonne make perfect sense, though. Mayro says we worked with AMC to pick the characters and what seasons they come from. So that's one of the reasons Michonne is shown as her early self.
Yep.
And then one last one, I think, here, and then we'll wrap this up. Yeah, I'm just making sure I'm not missing another one.
I assume AMC had a list of what they thought their most popular characters were, and that's what they told WotC to put on cards. They also got the most inclusive group of characters they could. They covered men, women, multiracial, everything with the characters they chose.
Yeah. Focusing on the small differences between the Lathni Dragon, Nexus of Fate, and the Secret Lair feels like a deliberate splitting of hairs and intentionally ignoring the commonalities, which is what is upsetting players. Once the window of opportunity to get these cards is passed, it's going to be incredibly hard to get them. This response feels like the community's concerns are being ignored, which makes us more upset and feeling overall gaslit. It doesn't inspire confidence. Mayro says, here's my problem. My job is about splitting hairs. Chroma was a failed mechanic and Devotion was a hit. The difference between something working and something not can often be tiny executions. I try on this blog to let you see my designer persona, which does a lot of nitpicking. But you bring a good point that when the audience is upset, that's not the persona you need, and I apologize for that. You guys are hurting, and what you need from me is an acknowledgement of that hurt. You need sympathetic Mark and not designer Mark. One of the byproducts of being a face of Magic is I'm a lightning rod for feedback. There's good and bad to that, but it does mean that I have a unique insight into what is upsetting you all. I just wrote a write-up to share with my bosses to explain what I've learned, and I want to thank you all for feeling comfortable enough to share with me to share your issues. So I'm sorry so many of you are hurting right now. I'll stop acting like designer Mark on this topic. It's just causing more pain, and that's the last thing I want. So again, we couldn't ask for a better person to be listening to our concerns. In my opinion, you just can't have a better person to do that.
He does care. I get really worried, especially with him having to do damage control for Wizards on issues like this, and as bad as it gets, I get worried for the day that Mayro is done. That scares me. I am scared of the community pushing him away, because when Mayro is done, I'm scared of Magic being done. But he has more heart and soul to care about Magic than anyone else in that company, and I think that drives a lot of it.
Well, he's the face of it, and so that's a thing. If you want to know what my non-hot take on this subject is, you'll need to watch Chatter of the Squirrels 86. I'm not going to do it twice, so I will be doing it in Chatter of the Squirrels at 9:30 our time tonight, live on Facebook. So this will go up later, but you can still check that out. I've had some time to think about this subject since it first happened, and my take has changed, and I'll be going over that on Chatter 86. Why is WotC so reluctant to use the restricted part of the banned and restricted list? Restriction adds a lot of variance, so we shy away from using it in more competitive formats. And if you'll tune into Chatter 86, I'll have some words on that subject and how it affects Commander. Chatter of the Squirrels 86.
I speaking of Commander and things, because of things like that, I wouldn't be surprised to see this change in the future, though.
Changed how?
That they become less reluctant because Commander, a singleton format, has become the most popular format. I would not be surprised to see them start restricting cards in their competitive formats as well.
Oh, I kind of think they should.
Yeah. No, and I think because of the prevalence of Commander is a reason that they may.
At this point, I don't think they can hurt Standard any more than they have.
Right.
So, yeah. Lead us on through some more here. We're about halfway through already.
Hi, Mark. Why are Phyrexians incapable of holding a spark? In-world? Physiology. For larger story reasons, it's their main weakness. That's a Phyrexian Planeswalker
is spooky.
That's
so
spooky.
As long as you don't get any on you and Planeswalk away somewhere, they're not going anywhere other than where they are.
Just keep the oil off of you.
Just don't get any on you.
Hello, Mark. I was wondering if when a functional reprint of one or more of the Mystery Booster playtest cards as legal cards in some formats. I believe that happened already, but I wouldn't expect that to happen often.
I was going to look this up and forgot to do so.
Yeah, I think there is one, and I don't remember what, but...
Again, 2 weeks has went by in the sickness household, and I dropped the ball on this, and my apologies.
Hey, Mark, if when tricolor hybrid, big if, it starts getting too close to generic mana, and the mana symbol looks bad. I believe the second part of that is probably actually the more important part. It probably does not look good in a mana symbol spot, would be my opinion.
Yeah, and I actually missed it. This follows up.
Did you guys ever get far enough along in the design process to mock up mana symbols for tricolor hybrid? He says that we did mock them up once, and it wasn't pretty.
It wasn't pretty.
And then to go along with hybrid, is it possible to have a hybrid cost where one of the options is colorless but not generic mana? He says it is possible, but not probable.
Yeah, that's... It gets into the line of just doing stuff to do it.
Right.
What's the reasoning? Why do you need that? It's if you're just checking boxes, that's not a reason to design cards.
Exactly. That's not why you do it.
And he gets into that all the time with you don't just check boxes to design.
Hey, Mark, why are nearly all life gain payoffs in white or black and never green? Isn't green the color of life? Why should the color of death get things like Bloodthirsty Aerialist and not green? And he says, maybe we're just saving something cool for green to do in the future.
I can hope something cool. I mean, we got Stream Alive, old school life gain.
I think green gets lots of cool stuff. I don't think you're hurting for cool stuff.
Well, I mean, it gets its share, maybe. Maybe. Ebbs and flows.
Fair. Are you going to do a duelist-style teaser for Commander Legends like you have for the past couple of sets, even though it's not a standard legal set? Mark says that is the plan.
And he did drop that today.
Yeah, we're not going to do it tonight.
We're not doing it because we're so far behind. You can watch Chatter 86, though, and we'll be covering it on Chatter 86.
Yeah, that's
Hey,
right.
look at all these promo spots I'm doing for
really-
Chatter 86.
I'm really proud of you.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark, today's my 20th birthday, so I want to ask some birthday trivia of my favorite creature type, angels. The first male angel, Gabriel Angelfire, showed up in Legends, the third ever expansion, but it would take many years before it got the errata officially making it an angel. Happy birthday.
That's pretty cool trivia.
It didn't happen until the great creature type change or whatever whatever they call it.
2008 or whatever it was, yeah.
It's got some big epic kind of name or something. I am recently missing a major overarching story plot like the Bolus arc, Eldrazi arc, or the Phyrexians arc in the new sets. Is there something similar in the making, or am I just missing the clues? Pay attention. Elements of the story will be important later.
See, I'm not. At least now they're giving us some online story so that I can follow story again. So I'm not sure what they're weaving together.
I don't know either.
We'll have to listen to some Vorthos podcast or something to figure it out.
Yeah.
But they're working on something.
They are working on something. We got a little bit more story with the art book that came out. Not something for Reblogatog, but some stuff dropped in the art book that was previously unknown. And they still give us this much story at a time.
Yeah.
So...
Well, they did steal my idea.
I know they stole your idea. They got your house bugged.
They must have. Yeah, Casamina. I've already created in our D&D campaign a Casamina style Planeswalker character.
Yes.
Which I can't talk a lot about because we're still getting into it. But they know that.
What's her secret?
Well, I wasn't calling them embers, but I might now.
Oh, when I was younger, I remember the failure of Fallen Empires. I just want to stop. I do as well because I had to sort multiple boxes of it as chores for my father when I was about 9. All right, here we go. I remember the failure of Fallen Empires being used as a running gag in Magic magazines like Conjure. I don't even remember that one.
That's
Scry and Inquest.
Yeah.
What exactly happened with Fallen Empires? Was it weak, or just perceived as weak, or just way overprinted?
Yes, and yes.
That's all. I mean, when we say failure, not only was I sorting these, I cracked all the packs too. He didn't want to crack the packs himself.
Oh my
he
God!
He made a 9-year-old do it.
60 packs in a box, 8 cards per pack.
I'm just saying.
You saw the same card over. New artwork.
Yeah, they all had 4 or 5 artworks.
Yeah.
Mero says up until that point, Magic couldn't print enough to meet demand. So everyone was in the habit of over-ordering to get the amount they actually needed. With Fallen Empires, Wizards said, okay, we can print to demand. Order what you actually need because we're going to give you what you ordered. Most stores and distributors didn't believe them, so they over-ordered as they normally did, and Wizards did what it promised and printed what was ordered. This created a giant glut of Fallen Empires, which led to all the jokes. Which, speaking of Fallen Empires, at one of our favorite sister stores, if you go up to Bolivar, Frank at CNK has Fallen Empires on the shelf.
Yes, this set, the story goes that a lot of stores had gotten in the habit of taking their normal order and taking it times 10, and sometimes as much as 100.
Yeah.
And putting in an order because of allocations. Well, the stores that did the times 100 all closed.
Yes.
Because if they had wanted 10 cases and they ordered 1,000 cases, they got 1,000 cases billed to them, and they couldn't pay for those. And a lot of stores closed because of that. It also didn't help that it wasn't a great set.
No. It made it harder to sell.
And there was just so much of it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I remember Fallen Empires well. I had a lot of Fallen Empires cards in the first decks that I played a lot of because Dad just gave them to me.
Yeah.
Just stacks of them.
Yep.
I'm moving on. I'm personally unconvinced that Kenrith's transformation is a severe bend. Does that mean Lignify is just a severe bend now? No. Turning something into a 3/3 is different than making it a 4-4.
04.
04, sorry. Also, Kenra's transformation was only allowed for its importance to the story. It was just enough to barely get it across the line. It's possible it was a break, but it's really close.
Yeah, giving somebody a 3-3 is a lot different than giving them an 04.
Yeah. Were you employed at WotC before the company was bought by Hasbro? Yes, he was. Yes, I started in 1995, and Hasbro purchased Wizards in 1998.
I put this in there because I was telling somebody it was the early 2000s. Boy, was I off if whoever I was telling that to is listening to this. It was actually 1998 that Hasbro. Now, and I also put that in there for another thing. There's always this talk of the money grab being Hasbro, causing WotC to do some of the things that it does. I'm going to speculate that after 22 years, if money grabbing Hasbro hasn't burnt them down, they're probably not going to.
Well, there's been a difference in the last 5 years. There has been some change in leadership in the companies, and they've taken some things in different directions.
Well, there is a brand new turnover
in the works
in Hasbro now.
It'll be a year. Yeah.
No, they're just now Hasbro's getting a brand new.
In a year, the CEO now, the president or CEO will be stepping down. They've named their successor, and they're still going to be there for another year, is what I read.
I thought it was still January, which isn't a year, so.
I thought it was another. Maybe they're staying on in an advisory role for a year.
They are staying on advisory.
Okay. I've been catching up on your recent articles. Why did your new trap designs have an ETB that draws a card on top of all their other effects to make them playable?
Now, I left that in because I listened to a podcast, Casual Magic, by Shivam Bhatt.
Yes.
And in that, there is a place where Mayro admits that they're probably putting draw a card on overusing it in design.
Yes.
And that's why I pointed this out. It doesn't jibe with what he says on that podcast, but I believe they are adding that draw a card to too many things and making too many cards too good because of the card draw.
There's now somebody put up the numbers after Zendikar Rising dropped. Original Zendikar or the second Zendikar or something had, I don't remember how many cards it was that had draw a card, the line of text draw a card on them, but Zendikar Rising had 4 times that number of cards. I think it was 3 or 4 times that number of cards that have the line draw a card in the text.
It doesn't surprise me at all.
It's a large number. And I want to look real quick and make sure everything's going well. Because it's a phone, and I don't know what the longest video of it. It still says it's recording. I don't know what the longest video I've ever taken with my phone is.
So, as another thing, we will be talking a little bit about that podcast
on Chatter of the Squirrels, episode 86.
86, yeah. Hello, Mark. Today is my birthday, and I was wondering if I could ask for some birthday trivia. Specifically, can I get some trivia on Kithkin, Ophies? Ophies? Or any other small race in Magic. Kitchen Finks, one of the most famous Ophies, started as Heather's Chipmunk. Sean Fletcher, one of Shadowmoor's designers, was asked by his wife if he would make a chipmunk card for her, which he did. That chipmunk would eventually become an Ophie. Happy birthday. I thought that was one of those cute little cool things. So I shared that.
I like when Magic does those cute little things.
The next time colorless cards happen, would it use the devoid keyword or instead have the Ghostfire text of this card is colorless? Mayro says, my lesson from devoid is don't keyword the ability.
Fair.
Marker mechanics that don't have any internal added function seem to upset players. And he doesn't like to upset players,
That's
actually.
fair. Yeah. And I get that one, yeah. All these cards say devoid, but it means nothing other than they're colorless. Is all it means. It's not an interactable mechanic. It's not a mechanic.
I didn't personally have a problem with it. I didn't see what the hubbub was, but be that as it may. Philosophically, why are giant sea creatures like krakens and leviathans blue instead of green? blue is the color of the element of water. So most creatures that live in water are blue. Blue is also the color of the element of air, which is why so many blue creatures fly. I'm not making it up. I'm just saying what the truth is.
Yeah.
Blue is the color of knowledge, and everything is about knowledge. So blue gets to do all the sea and air creatures and all the knowledge things, which is all the magic and the cool things, and that's why blue is so powerful. The end.
It's nowhere near where it was years ago, and it
is not. But we're still bucking against 25 years of history. Do you think Commander has surpassed or will ever surpass Kitchen Table as the most played format? And I got to be careful how I read this.
Yeah, because it's
no format is always going to beat format. The majority of Magic players don't even know formats are a thing. This alone is why you want to watch Shadow of the Squirrels 86 when I tell you about my new take on the Secret Lair Walking Dead issue. This alone, right here, will tell you what I'm going to be talking about. Which is more likely, Kaladesh without energy or energy without Kaladesh? Thought that was an interesting one.
That is.
And he said the latter. That's energy without Kaladesh is more likely.
So we will have energy back when we go back to Kaladesh, which we know is happening. I believe he's talked about that in some of our Reblogotogs. So
right. So, but maybe we get energy somewhere else.
Right. But I mean, that's a pretty easy confirmation that we will be getting energy again.
Maybe we got snow energy on call time.
What the hell? Okay.
Is there anything about Earl of Squirrel's effects that has to be silver bordered? I'd love to see them show up on a couple other lords for underserved tribes. The only thing keeping Earl of Squirrel silver bordered was squirrels weren't a black border thing when Unstable came out. God, I want Squirrel Link and black borders so bad now that it's almost more than I can stand to not think about it since I've read this. I've read this like 8 times, and every time I read it, I just smile bigger because I want Squirrel Link and black border so bad.
I got a Sharpie. I mean, we can...
I want more Squirrel Link. Not just Earl. I want Squirrel Link because I like making squirrel tokens. Requests for more female legendaries in non-human humanoids. I wish there were more Minotaur, Orc, Goblin, etc. legendary females. Didn't find any when I looked on Gatherer. Mero says there's more than you realize. It's just harder recognizing females of non-human races. I myself haven't done a search.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that would be difficult. That's, Nikia
is the only
10, 15, 20,000 card images to look at. Could get rough.
Nikia is a centaur, but she's still half human. That was the first one that came to me. So,
let you finish up. I've been hogging.
There is a clear focus, even in Premier sets, on Commander playable cards. On the design team, is there any self-limiting or even self-prohibiting regarding the creation of cards like Nantuko Shrine? Cards that are antithetical to Commander play, but otherwise very interesting design space. Functionally, non-Commander playable legendary creatures are getting harder to make.
I don't understand that.
I don't either.
Functionally non-commander playable legendary creatures. I don't think there's anything wrong with legendary creatures that can't be your commander.
Well, I mean, they can be, but you wouldn't want to be.
Right.
Yeah, not...
I don't think every legendary creature has to be optimized as a commander.
Right.
I think it's fine to make some that aren't. For the kitchen table people, for the people like me who like to build a commander deck just because it's fun, not because it's all optimized.
Right.
And there are plenty of us that do that. I don't think they all have to be.
They don't. And they don't all have to be the enabler and the payoff stapled to the same card either. I think I've heard them talk a little bit. I think they're starting to get that.
They are. That's something we'll talk about on Chatter 86.
But Was the introduction of party and class-based tribal synergies and Zendikar Rising syncing up with the wizard-filled Strixhaven intentional? Maybe. I would assume so. I have a feeling that we'll get a lot of warriors in Kaldheim, the Viking set. We'll see a lot of wizards in Strixhaven, the wizard set. I feel like they're all going to be taken fairly well care of in the next year of standard sets.
It seems very possible.
When was your last day physically at the Wizards' offices this year? And Mero says early March, I believe.
They've been making Magic from home.
Yep.
Since March. Wow.
I find that almost hard to believe. I would imagine at least Mero has probably been into the office at some point, even if not everybody is, I feel like he's the kind of guy that's been called in for a meeting and, Hi, Mark. This is our last one for the night, guys. Hi, Mark. Does the popularity of Eldraine make a return to Lorwyn more or less likely? This surprises me, because I thought this would be the exact opposite answer. And he says, maybe a tiny bit more.
Yeah, I thought it would be the opposite as well.
They've been pretty clear that Lorwyn's, and I figured Eldraine was the replacement. So after Eldraine and it being successful, no way we go back to Lorwyn.
Going along with a lot of stuff I'll be talking about probably in future weeks and in chatter and so forth is I'm really on board with. I don't feel a whole lot of stuff is off the table with Magic design, development, and where we're going with Magic at this point.
That's fair.
Not a lot is going to surprise this old man going forward.
That's fair.
Anyway, guys, that's what we got. We've got just a few minutes to turn this thing around and do our Chatter 86. We'll be live streaming that, so it will be done by the time you guys see this. So hopefully you've watched it. If not, go check out Chatter 86 because we got some good content on there. We'll see all you guys next week.
Thank you.